What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. And in this video, we're going to be going over a couple star-studded potential trade targets for the Vancouver Canucks. Those star-studded trade targets, Mason Marchment and Jason Robertson. So we're going to break down the possibility of these two players being trade targets for the Vancouver Canucks, Mason Marchment in particular. So stay tuned. We're going to get into all that nitty gritty stuff. I'm going to hit the intro first. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. And as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking about two star-studded trade targets for the Vancouver Canucks, Mason Marchment and Jason Robertson. We're going to talk more Mason Marchment than Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson is more like a fantasy, and just hearing that he's potentially available to, like, when it comes to a trade, just makes me salivate at the thought of the Canucks acquiring Jason Robertson. And with Besser being on his way out the door, who better to replace Besser than a guy like Jason Robertson? We're going to get into that. We're going to go over his stats over the last few years and talk about why Jason Robertson is who wouldn't want Jason Robertson on their team? There isn't a single team out there that wouldn't be interested in Jason Robertson if he was made available. And for a trade, we're also going to talk about, as I mentioned, Mason Marchment. He's probably a more likelier candidate to be traded to the Canucks. We're going to talk about how he fits with the Canucks, and as well as the fact that Dallas is in a bit of a cap crunch this offseason. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But let's go ahead and before we get into the article itself, I want to thank my sponsor of this video, Gassy Jack Art. So for those of you that do not know who Gassy Jack Art is, Gassy Jack Art, it produces hockey prints on archival paper and canvas that have been rated to last over 100 years. Their product range features a variety of players from different teams, including the Edmonton Oilers, Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, Calgary Flames, Colorado Avalanche, and your Vancouver Canucks, as well as more. They also have non-hockey related prints as well. But right now, they have a end of season sale. Buy 4 prints and get 2 of them free. Essentially, what that means is you can buy 4 prints and you're only paying for 2 of them. You're paying 2 for 4, which is a great deal. As you can see in that picture, I got myself 4 prints. Those are the prints that I got. I got myself a Connor Garland, Kevin Bieksa, Quinn Hughes, and of course, I just had to get me a Kuzmenko one because I absolutely still adore Andrei Kuzmenko. But if you want prints similar to these, go ahead and go to GassyJackArt.com. Go ahead and pick 4 prints that you're interested in and only pay for 2 of them. Obviously, get this deal while you can. I'm not sure how long Jack is going to have it on for, or if it might end after the Stanley Cup playoffs, as technically the end of season will officially have arrived. But go ahead and check them out, GassyJackArt.com, and I'm currently expecting 4 more prints, so I'll likely be doing an unboxing video for those as well. But definitely go ahead and check out Gassy Jack Art. Once again, a big thank you to Gassy Jack Art for sponsoring this video. So let's start off by talking about Mason Marchment and the idea of bringing him in. We're going to go over an article from Sportskeeda talking about Marchment in particular, So let's go ahead and dive right into it. The Vancouver Canucks should acquire Dallas Stars forward Mason Marchment, NHL analyst and insider Rick Dhaliwal urges. Dolly made his pitch during the June 2nd edition of Dolly, which was yesterday, encouraging the Canucks to make a run at acquiring Marchment amid the Stars' salary cap squeeze. The Stars head into this summer with a little under $5 million in cap space and have roughly 9 UFAs/RFAs this offseason, including captain Jamie Benn. While Marchment is not a UFA this summer, he will be entering the final year of his current 4-year, $18 million contract. Given the Stars' precarious cap situation, Mason Marchment could be one of the players on the outside looking in this upcoming season. Stars' GM Jim Neal will need to choose which players to keep, particularly considering that star winger Jason Robertson will also need a contract after this upcoming season. Dhaliwal stated the following regarding Mason Marchment: "The Canucks should go out and get this guy." And that is an exact quote. Dhaliwal expanded his thoughts, referring to the upcoming NHL Combine, which is a de facto gathering of all GMs that often leads to trade talk. Now, that is coming up this week in Buffalo. So expect a lot of trade talk news coming throughout this week, and we'll have you covered right here on the Line Change. Dhaliwal underscored how the Combine could be an opportunity for the Canucks to strike up a deal for Marchment. He added, "Dallas is in a cap crunch. I'm even hearing Jason Robertson's name up there. People are throwing names out there." It's worth pointing out that Dhaliwal's actually scratch that, but fans can catch. No, we don't need that. As for the rationale behind Dhaliwal's plea for the Canucks to acquire Mason Marchment, Dhaliwal noted that the Canucks still have a hole in the lineup at 2C following the JT Miller trade this past season with the New York Rangers. It's Dhaliwal's belief that Mason Marchment could be the right fit for the Vancouver Canucks, especially with the Stars tied up against the cap. According to Puckpedia, the Canucks have a little over $14 million in cap space. The good news is that beyond Brock Boeser, the club doesn't have any big-ticket free agents. In addition to Boeser, the season breakout star Pius Suter needs a new contract, assuming that the Canucks sign one of Suter or Boeser. That should leave the club with enough room to fit Mason Marchment's $4.5 million AAV this upcoming season. However, Marchment will be a UFA the following season and might command significantly more than $4.5 million. That situation means that the Vancouver Canucks may find it challenging to sign Marchment to a long-term extension. The Canucks could make such a deal work given the cap ceiling rising over the next couple seasons. Vancouver still has captain Quinn Hughes under contract for 2 more seasons, with Thatcher Demko's $5 million cap hit potentially coming off the books after next season. Ultimately, trading for Marchment could work for the Vancouver Canucks this upcoming season, providing secondary scoring for new head coach Adam Foote. So, there was that. I'll leave a link to that article in the description down below. But let's switch over to Jason Robertson a little bit. Now, obviously, as I mentioned already, it's a bit of a fantasy, trade target when it comes to Jason Robertson, as if the Dallas Stars are looking to trade Robertson, they're going to want a pretty penny for it. He's not going to be cheap. He's going to take a massive haul to entice the Dallas Stars. And honestly, I can't really think of anyone that the Canucks could offer. As I mentioned, this is a bit of a dream or fantasy trade target. But let's look at Jason Robertson's stats over the last few years. So starting with 2021, 2022, he played 74 games, had 41 goals, 38 assists, and had 79 points. And that was only his 3rd season in. His first season, he only played 3 games. And then his second season, he played 51 games and had 45 points in his first season. And then he jumped up and had a breakout in 2021, 2022 with those aforementioned 79 points. The year after that, his first year under his 4-year contract that he signed with Dallas, he had played 82 games, had 46 goals, 63 assists, good for 109 points. So that is obviously his breakout season that year. And that was the first year of his 4-year deal. He followed that up by in 23-24 playing another 82 games with 29 goals, so a little, down on his goal mark with 51 assists, but he finished with 80 points. Following that up this past season, he once again played 82 points, played 82 games, 35 goals, 45 assists, once again, 80 points. Are you guys starting to see a trend here? His last 3 seasons, he's played a full 82 games. So the guy is very durable, which jumps out at me. The fact that he can play 82 games in 3 straight seasons without having missed a game. I know he missed some time in the playoffs, but during the regular season, he is consistent, he is durable, and that instantly jumps out at me. Now, the last 2 seasons, obviously he hit 80 points, and then the year before that was his breakout with the 109 points, but this guy is good, and everyone knows it. Everyone talks about Brock Besser finally hitting the 40 goal mark. Not this past season, but the year before that. Robertson's done it twice. So that already, to me, elevates him above Besser because he's managed to do it not once, but twice. And he's consistently in that between 80 to 100 point range in the last 3 seasons. That obviously that 21-22 season, he was just under 80, but still, the guy is consistent, and I would jump at the chance for the Canucks to get Jason Robertson. As I mentioned already, he's going to take a haul, and I just don't think the Canucks realistically have the means and the assets to acquire Jason Robertson, as much as I freaking want the guy. But his name got thrown out there, so I thought I'd attach Jason Robertson to this video. Originally, it was only supposed to be about Mason Marchment, but I thought, what the heck, I'll throw Robertson in there and do a little dual trade target video. Plus, it goes with the title, do a couple of star-studded trade targets. I kind of like that title, so I went with it. But yeah. So, but when it comes to Mason Marchment, let me actually bring up Mason Marchment's stats real quick. There we go. Just waiting for it to load. There we go. Okay, so Mason Marchment, 29 years old. Yeah, 29 years old. He plays center and he plays on the wing. As what Dolly mentioned on Donnie and Dolly, he's 6'5", 212 pounds, left-handed shot. So yeah, I could argue that Mason Marchment can be your 2C if they wanted to, target Mason Marchment. And obviously, if you wanted to keep Heedle at, center, Marchment can always move to the wing, or vice versa. Vice versa. Heedle can move to the wing, and you can have Marchment up the middle. But as was mentioned with his contract, 4 years, $18 million, cap hit of $4.5 million. This is the final year of that 4-year contract. Starting next season, as was mentioned, he will be a UFA. I'm not. He has no trade protection. He did in his first year. Actually, that's not true. He has a modified no trade clause. So I stand corrected on that. But it doesn't show what his, if it's, it says right here, years 2 to 4, 10-team no trade list. So that's a relatively small no trade list. You have to assume the Canucks aren't on his no trade list, but who knows? I really do wish there were sites that actually showed what teams they're not willing to be traded to, but I digress. Let's look at his stats. So starting from 2019, 2020, he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs, only played 4 games with the Leafs, had 1 assist. Then he went to the Panthers, 2020, 2021, played 33 games, had 10 points, 2 goals, 8 assists, 18 penalty minutes though. 2021, 2022, 54 games, 47 points, 18 goals, 29 assists. And then he followed that up with his first season in Dallas, 2022, 2023, when he signed that initial 4-year deal, 68 games, 12 goals, or rather 31 points, 12 goals, 19 assists, 80 penalty in minutes. Wow. 2023, 2024, he played 81 games, 53 points, 22 goals, 31 assists. And then this past season, 62 games, 47 points, 22 goals, 25 assists. So yeah, looks like Marchment is like 20 plus goal scorer. And obviously, you would probably want something better as your 2C, at least more production. But who knows? Maybe that production might, see a uptick if he were to be acquired by the Canucks. But the main thing with Marchment is he's got a lot of grit. And that is probably why Dolly is so high on him, because he's got that grit. And we've been missing that grit on this Canucks team since Zadorov left, since Miller left. We've been missing that grit. And Mason Marchment brings that grit to the style of play that he has. So that is another reason why I'm pretty high on Marchment. I never really thought of him. I'll admit, for the I remember having Marchment actually in fantasy I think it was a few seasons ago. I may have actually had him this past season in my ESPN fantasy. And I really liked him. I think it was actually my first fantasy league, I'm going to say maybe 3 years ago. I had him, in my pool, and he did really well. And then he kind of dropped off a bit, contemplated, getting rid of him. And then he started heating up again. So I kept him. And yeah, so I really liked his play. Not to mention, the guy's got a killer mustache too. Like, when it comes to mustaches. So there's that too. But I think he's a good candidate. I'm a little hesitant after having looked at his stats and seeing the production. When you think, as I mentioned, when you think of 2C, you think a little more than 50, maybe 60 points minimum for a second line center. But hey, Mason Marchment could be a good choice. And especially if he's going to bring that rough and tough grit to your team, then yeah, do it. And the guy, I think it was Donnie said it on Donnie and Dolly. He's a bit of a jerk on the ice. So obviously the Canucks need a little bit more jerks on the ice and standing up. People keep saying Canucks are soft. Well, if you get a guy like Mason Marchment, they'd be a little less soft if you got a guy like Marchment. But that's going to do it for this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about Mason Marchment. What do you guys think about Jason Robertson? Obviously, that's a bit of a stretch and a bit of, fantasizing there. But obviously, who wouldn't want Jason Robertson on their team? Like, come on. This is Jason Robertson. Like, a multi 40 goal scorer. Guy had 80 points the last 2 seasons, had 109 points the season before that. Like, come on. You most definitely would want and salivate like me to have a guy like Jason Robertson on your team, especially if he's made available, But once again, if you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all Canucks content, whether that's Vancouver Canucks or Abbotsford Canucks, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss a single video. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. Find us on Instagram at The Line Change. Find us on X at Line Change Van. You can also find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And also, if you prefer a audio version of this podcast, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Once again, feel free to give us a follow on Spotify as well as rate and review us. It's greatly appreciated, of course. But that's going to do it for me. Once again, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about Marchment as well as Jason Robertson and that little bit of fantasizing. But that's going to do it for me. As always, go Canucks go, both Abby and Vancouver. And I'll see you guys in the next video.